Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another Sunday video. In this one, my friends, we're going to be testing the GeForce GTX 1080 in 2024. Now, a few months ago, I tested the GTX 1080 Ti, and that was a legend of a graphics card from 2017, so it's 7 years old. But this one, my friends, this is a legend graphics card from 2016. It's even older, yes. This was the first consumer series GPU from the Pascal architecture to hit the market, and what an absolute monster it was. Compared to the last generation's GTX 980, the 1080 is actually 70 to 80% faster, while consuming less than a GTX 980 Ti at 180 watts of power. But Crisp, with all of those advancements in architecture, this surely came at a very big price increase, right? Right? That's what we've been seeing in the past few years, at least. Wrong! The GTX 1080 came in at $599 MSRP. That was just a $50 increase compared to the GTX 980, which had half the VRAM and again 70 to 80% less performance than this. Now, in terms of CUDA core configuration, this has 2560 CUDA cores. And that's a very interesting number of CUDA cores if you know resolutions, guys. You see, when the Pascal series released, we got the Titan X Pascal with 3840 CUDA cores, and that's similar to the 3840 by 2160 resolution, 4K. Then the GTX 1080 over here has 2560 CUDA cores, and that's the horizontal resolution, once again, of 1440p resolution. The GTX 1070 had 1920 CUDA cores, 1920 by 1080. The GTX 1060 had 1280 CUDA cores, okay, 1280 by 720. It's just, it doesn't translate into anything, guys, okay? But I just find it really interesting. That's enough intro. Let's play some games on the GTX 1080. This bazooka of a card, look at this. Shall we? And first up, we got Cyberpunk 2077 at 1080p resolution using the high preset, but I'm going to disable resolution scaling first. I'm also going to try some FSR a little bit later, and I'm also going to disable this and motion blur. Everything else is set to high, as you can see. And guys, unfortunately, it's not getting those sweet 60 FPS, and even on medium settings, I tried it first on medium, it was getting around 55 to 60 most of the time, so I chose high because that looks quite a bit better than medium settings in this game. And highlight of the video, goodbye Bob. This is too much, he's tired of it, guys. Goodbye Bob, I said. Please just die. Come on, Bob. Why don't you die? How many times do I need to run you over for you to die? Is he dead? No. What? Seriously? Come on. I don't think he's dead yet. Yeah, look at that. All right, we're gonna do it in our own manners, my friends. Shoot Bob. Let's go. Goodbye. Make sure he's dead. All right, we're fine. This roundabout area is pretty intensive. It's dropping down into the mid-low 40s at times. I saw like 44 right there. It's not the end of the world, though. If you want to play on high settings with the GTX 1080, it's gonna work. As you can see, there's no stuttering. It's not unplayable. And when you get out of the car, you actually get more FPS. But it's just not that amazing of an experience. This was one of the first games that actually put the GTX 1080 to its knees when it came out. Let's enable FSR 2.1 right there. Everything else still the same. This is on quality right now. And look at that, guys. It puts our FPS above 60 for the most part, actually. There will be a couple of drops here and there, probably, with like explosions and stuff like that in intensive areas, but it is handling it like a champ right now. And the good thing is, FSR 2 on quality in this game looks pretty good in my opinion. God damn, oh boy! As I was saying, it still looks pretty good. As you can see, on a smaller monitor, there's not going to be that big of a difference. I'm using a 32-inch monitor here, so of course I can see quite a bit of a loss in quality, but I've tried it on... Goodbye, Bob, again. I've tried it on a 1080p monitor, 24 inches, and I think it looks quite good with FSR quality. The only major issue is there's now a bit of ghosting behind the car. which they haven't fixed yet for some reason. You can clearly see it right there. I can live with the ghosting if that means no motion blur, though. So there's that. Now we got a 60 plus FPS experience with 69, a perfect average, basically. So now we're playing Elden Ring, looking great right here at the 1080p resolution using high settings, no motion blur, and maximum textures, because apparently 8 gigabytes of VRAM are enough for maximum textures here, and it's looking pretty nice. Like, it's not a soft game, even though it's from software. I'm sorry, guys. This one is actually capped to 60 frames per second, just because that's how the game runs, you know. And if you unlock the FPS, there might be a couple of problems here and there. No! Oh my god! Oh my god, this is hard. It's been a while since I've played Elden Ring, actually. Oh boy! Oh, I'm recording this before the DLC, though, so you guys probably saw me play Elden Ring in the last few videos. Anyway, you can see that the GPU utilization is around like 50 to 60% usage most of the time. Roach, get over here. Thank you very much, boy. Everything is okay. You didn't die. I'm glad. Over in areas with a lot of vegetation like this one right here, it actually goes up to like 78%, maybe 80% sometimes. So these are more GPU intensive areas, you know, if you come across like a forest area or something. But the GTX 1080 at 1080p resolution is doing a fantastic job, guys. I thought it would perform a little bit worse than this. Also, having it locked to 60 FPS means, oh my god, Roach, no, I died already. Are you serious? I wanted to see the fire effects. As I was saying before, we were rudely interrupted by this boy over here. If you have the FPS locked to 60, your overall system will consume a bit less power and be more efficient, basically. So right now we're seeing 120 watts on the GPU side of things, sometimes lower, actually probably more often lower than that. Yeah, which is pretty efficient for an 80-year-old GPU. All right, let's see the fire effects finally. Let's go. All right, up close and personal. There we go. Doesn't even drop, obviously. GPU usage goes up, though. It gets pretty much the same usages as the forest areas, 79% right there. And yeah, that's it for Elden Ring. It works surprisingly well with the 1080. Next up is Apex Legends. We're playing this one at 1080p native res using these settings. So basically maxed out, aside from this one, which introduces stuttering if you set it to the maximum. So let's leave it on very high. Let's do this. Well, look at this, guys. Dropping from the sky. It's still getting like 90s, 100s. That's very good. Like, this is one of the most intensive things that you will do in Apex, actually, aside from the ultimates and stuff, which we will get to. But as you can see, this is quite a smooth experience, isn't it, guys? Like 150s, 140s, 130s. Damn, that's incredible coming from an 80-year-old GPU. Now, obviously, this game isn't really that recent. That's why it runs super well here on this GPU. It released back in 2020, I believe, maybe 2019. And it's a very well-optimized game, that's for sure. All right, I got that one. Okay, and that was a squad wipe, actually. There's another one right there. Okay, you know what? Maybe I should... Oh, there's a guy. He just ran past me. What the hell? Okay, that's another one down. And there's another one right there. Okay, come on. I'm gonna throw a smoke, actually. We haven't tested the smokes yet. There we go. Okay, good stuff. So 100 FPS inside of the smokes. And obviously, guys, if you want a... Oh my god, we're doing it! That's amazing. If you want a higher refresh rate experience, there's always the option to play at low settings. And if you are competitive in this game, well, I recommend you to do that. Finally, my ultimate is here, guys. Let's see some explosions. Kind of worst case scenario. That can be like a couple of ultimates at the same time. I'm gonna throw smoke out, actually, at the same time. Oh my god, I killed myself. But it dropped into the 70s, worst case scenario, so that's still not bad. Now for something more intensive, we got Horizon Forbidden West at 1080p resolution using no anti-aliasing, no upscaling here, and the medium graphics settings over here. And as you can see, the GTX 1080 still has what it takes to play this with pretty decent visuals, right? Like, medium settings look really nice here in this game. I've also tested the GTX 1080 in this title with more settings in a separate video recently, like a couple of months ago or so. So if you want to take a look at more settings, there's a link for the playlist of this GPU down in the description. But here on medium settings, 1080p native, I think it looks very, very nice. It doesn't dip down from 60 too often, although, well, that's inevitably gonna happen, you know. But since this is a single-player title, I think it works quite well like this. Can I get out, please? There we go. All right, let's fight these guys. It's usually pretty intensive right here. Come on. Let's go. 50s again. Yeah, not bad. Still feels very smooth. Zero stuttering here, which is very nice as well. And yeah, even like the 1060 can actually play this game pretty reasonably. So it's no surprise that the 1080 can play it just fine as well. Oh boy, stop farting, stop farting. I just got a little bit of a belly ache. That's it. What did you eat? Holy crap, I've never seen a robot farting so much. Now let's play an easy to run one. This is CS2 and we're playing at 1080p using the high settings preset, which is the recommended for this card, but I disabled MSAA because that's really intensive and it would actually drop a lot of FPS in smokes. All right, guys, let's start counting our FPS. 7.5 minutes on the clock, and it feels extremely buttery smooth right now. This is an amazing experience. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Okay, all good, all good, all good. It's 123 points for me right now, a little bit higher. Okay. Oh, come on, stop stealing my kills, boys. Stop killing. It's all good. Oh boy. Okay. Oh, that was good. That was actually a sick play there. There we go. Oh, this is so good, guys. Not a single frame skip here in CS2, obviously. Like there shouldn't be. Easy to run game, but it's on high settings. Remember that. All right. Yeah, this is absolutely perfect of an experience. You might want more FPS. In that case, well, you can just lower the settings, of course. But I'm not playing on low because the CPU is a bit overkill for a GTX 1080, you know, and it would push like 500 frames per second, and you likely won't have an X3D processor with it, so you can't really push those frame rates. Although 1080 would definitely be capable of like 400, 500 FPS. Damn it! With a fast CPU. Oh my god. There we go. Oh, we're second place. I just noticed, guys. Come on. All right. All good. Nope. Okay, I'm fine. Need to reload. Need to heal myself. There's one here. And another one there. No. You bastards. You were 5 HP. Okay, I got him now. Another one down. Let's go. Hello? Oh, and we did it. We actually finished first place. That's absolutely insane. 76 kills. And now let's try the smoke test right here. Dropping down into the lower 100s, so much more intensive. Throw the AG grenade on top of it, which makes it drop even further into the 80s. So yeah, that's not competitive territory anymore, right? And now with fire effects at the same time. Okay, not dropping as much as with the AG grenade. But yeah, it's definitely very good. It's always going to be super smooth. And if you want an even higher refresh rate experience, well, I ran out of bullets. There's the low settings for you. Now I'm playing Stutter Night at 1080p using DirectX 12 and the high settings preset, but I did disable Nanite Virtualized Geometry, which also disables the Lumen stuff, which is ray tracing, and well, it's a 1080, so of course you don't want to use that. Now the thing is, this game still looks pretty good even without those features, nanites and ray tracings. So yeah, you can just enjoy buttery smooth frame rate. Well, not buttery smooth because of the stutters, but yeah, it's going to be a decent experience. Very, very nice, actually. On the GTX 1080, as you can see, it gets 100 FPS down here, while dropping it was getting like 80s and 70s. Definitely smooth here. Let's go try to get this guy. Come on. Whoa, that's an opening. I didn't know that. Okay. Where is the guy? There he is. Let's go. Come on. Go, boy. Oh, right. we're fine. He just punched the hell out of us there. And I've already played an entire match, by the way, with the GTX 1080 to load the shaders and stuff. That's why it's not stuttering as much as it usually is in the first match. But unfortunately, even after playing an entire game through, in this one, it still stutters. Hey, hello. There he is. Okay, we're gonna die, guys. I think we're gonna die. Nope. No. I'm gonna try still. Come on. No, he broke the tree. And there was another one behind us. Oh, that's just his bot. Okay. God damn it. Now, at least since I'm dead, we can see other areas of the map, like this one here with a lot of vegetation, or at least grass. It's getting 100 FPS. Basically, it's never going to drop from 60 using these settings. And I know these are not competitive settings at all, but it looks good, doesn't it? And I'm testing the GPU, so it's good to see what the 1080 is truly capable of. Okay, so Alan Wake 2 is really intensive, and we're playing it at 1080p using FSR2 on quality, which makes the game render at 720p and upscale it to 1080p. And I'm using the low quality preset, which has some things on high and other things on medium and stuff, so it's not absolute lowest settings. And as you can see, the 1080 is actually not doing that bad of a job considering the game that it's playing, and especially considering how terrible of a job it did back when the game came out. For reference, the GTX 1080 Ti, which is a good like 30-35% faster than this one, that got like 30 FPS at 360p resolution when this game came out because of the mesh shaders situation and so on. But now that the game has been fixed for 10 series GPUs, it only asks for a GTX 1070 as a minimum requirement GPU. And well, GTX 1080 doesn't really have much of an issue playing this, which is quite nice to see. You could actually enjoy this game on a 1080 these days. Now, in terms of visuals, on low settings preset, it still looks amazing, this game. There's a lot of dynamic lighting and stuff like that. It's awesome. And honestly, FSR2 isn't really too bad looking either in this particular title. It's already a bit too soft at native resolution. FSR2 makes it a little softer as well, but I think it still looks great. It's probably one of the best implementations of FSR, actually. So yeah, that's it for Alan Wake 2. You can play it. Now it's Hogwarts Legacy. I'm playing at 1080p using TAA high, so native resolution, and the high settings preset. And look at this, 69. It was at 69 right at the beginning. That's perfect. So this is Hogsmeade. This is usually very CPU intensive of an area, so that's why it's getting 60 plus FPS. When we go to forest areas with a lot of dense vegetation and near water as well, that's pretty intensive usually, we will definitely see it drop down a little. Obviously on medium settings you can actually achieve 60 plus in this scenario at least. Oh boy, starting to drop a lot with the vegetation. But I find it pretty impressive that the GTX 1080 can still play this game so well at 1080p using high settings. Like, this is great. It's good performance, especially for an 80-year-old GPU. Again, there's also the option for you to utilize some FSR2 on quality, which looks pretty good in this game as well. It's probably one of the best implementations, just like in Alan Wake. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it makes things a little bit softer and noisy, but it's not as bad as in other titles, so I would probably not have a problem utilizing that. But yeah, look at that, 55 FPS average right there. That was the most intensive little area in my benchmark run, and it only dropped into the 40s. It's stable, it's pretty... it just works. Now let's try it with that FSR2 on quality, and as you can see, I can spot quite a bit more noise around moving things, especially around the character, but it's not terrible, especially since the game at native resolution is already a little bit blurry, so meh. And now it's actually achieving 60 plus even here. So we gained about like 10-15 frames per second, something like that. And although it will probably dip down here and there into the 50s, it's probably not a bad experience still. It's a single player game, you know? So yeah, it works fine. Yeah, there we go, 50s. For what it is, I think it's pretty impressive that it can play this on high. Alright guys, enough stuttering. This is Forza Horizon 5, super well optimized game. I'm fine. I'm fine. Let's go for the settings. I'm playing at 1080p using 4 times MSAA and the Ultra settings preset. And the performance is just great, guys. To be expected, again, because this is very well optimized. But it might drop here and there. So let's make our way to the big city and see our FPS. Now, this is the first area that we come across that is actually pretty intensive. It's dropping down into the 70s, but still not a problem. In this game, like 60 plus is obviously very, very good. There's no need for a super high refresh rate. And there we go. This is where it's starting to drop a lot. City area, 60s. Okay, so there might be a few areas where it will drop into the 50s or high 50s, I guess. But it's not going to happen often at all. As you could see, it didn't even touch the mid-60s. So quite impressive performance coming from a GTX 1080, especially given that we're playing on ultra settings and given that the game looks super great. Now, getting out of the tunnel is one of the most intensive things that you can do in this game, and it drops down into the 50s slightly for a split second. Not a problem, though. 99% of the time, it is buttery smooth, and it looks amazing at the same time.
You are the best of the best.
See? 1080. Best of the best, my friends. So this is Helldivers 2 at 1080p using native res and the medium settings preset with high textures, and it is working quite well. This game usually doesn't vary in FPS by too much, so the FPS that we're seeing here are probably going to be stable for the entire run. You know, lots of bugs over here. This is also on the hard difficulty. It is fine. It's not super blurry either, like other games are. Damn. Okay. Jesus. All right, let's go. Let's go. How come those things don't explode whenever the enemies are close to it? All right, you know what? I'm going to call an orbital strike right here just to see some explosions. There we go. Huge explosion, dropping slightly from 60 FPS there. Tons of smoke effects as well. Not a problem. See, it's stable. It doesn't stutter at all, which is the nicest thing probably about this game. In terms of performance, of course. Yeah, it's a good experience, even with a GTX 1080. Next is GTA 5. Very old title at this point, but very, very popular as well. 4 times MSAA at 1080p using the very high settings. These are actually my custom settings. No, but Jesus Christ. Okay. All right. We're fine. Yeah, we're fine, Michael. We're fine. I just want the other car. Now, 4 times MSAA in this game is very intensive, and it also makes quite a big difference in terms of visuals. But it's needed. If you want more FPS, you could have it, but then you would start breaking the engine if your CPU is also too fast and it can actually keep up with your GPU. If you get close to 188 frames per second, sometimes it's not even needed to go that high. You know, it will start stuttering at 170. So you might not want to utilize 4 times MSAA, but it's needed if you don't want to lock your FPS. Obviously, if you do so, you won't really reach the engine limit. Okay, people, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna get to Bob real fast, okay? Because that's important for humanity, to kill Bob. He's a demon. Now, obviously, the GTX 1080 came out after GTA 5 did, so it doesn't have a problem playing it. Even the earlier generations of GPUs don't have a problem either playing this game. But the thing is, in grassy areas, all of the GPUs struggle, basically, especially when you enable that MSAA. And as you can see, it's dropping sometimes into the 70s, but it's still not a problem at all. If you have a 1080p monitor with a 1080, I mean, that's actually very adequate, isn't it, in 2024? Oh, yeah. It will run absolutely fine. Okay, it's the highlight of the video, guys. Goodbye, Bob. Another highlight. There we go. Rex is safe right there. And I just want to see Jack. Like, he didn't show up this time around for some reason. Where'd you go? Why don't you like the GTX 1080? It's one of the best cards ever made. It's a sad day, guys. Maybe we're gonna find him in Red Dead Redemption 2. Which is next. Let's go. We're playing it at 1080p using the hardware unboxed optimized settings, which do provide very good visuals and performance at the same time. They are harder to run than the Xbox One X settings, which are also pretty optimized for visuals to performance, you know. But our GTX 1080 can definitely provide a good experience here with these settings, as you can see, above 60 FPS at the moment. And unfortunately, I have terrible news, guys. I don't think Jack is around here. I don't know why. Sometimes he just doesn't show up at all. Where is Bob, by the way? I think we should have seen him already by now. I think he is usually over here, right? Am I tripping or something? Did Bob leave Red Dead Redemption 2? Where the hell is he? You know what? You're the new Bob. I don't care. You're passing by this area again, so yeah. Let's go. Let's go. Bob! Bob! What the hell do you think you're doing? Releasing yourself from my tie. Come on. Let's go. I'm not done with you yet. Damn, look at how beautiful this looks. I mean, the textures do leave a lot to be desired compared to today's games, but everything else, like the colors, the amount of details... It's great. It's great. And it's getting 60-ish FPS. Oh, there's a lot of horse poop around here. That's amazing. Bob just ate a lot of poop. Ah, this is my happiest day ever. And even here in Strawberry, which is a very intensive town, it doesn't drop from 60 FPS. So it's safe to say that at least in like 99 or 98% of the game, it will stay stable above 60. Zero stuttering as well. It's a stable experience and a beautiful one at the same time. Highly recommend this one. Next is Mr. Todd's aberration of a game in terms of performance. Slowfield. So far, we've been seeing very decent performance out of the GTX 1080, right? And we're here at 1080p using the lowest settings. Fidelity FX CAS over here to sharpen up the image. I'm not using 69% sharpness. Yep, let's leave it there. I'm not using like FSR3 or anything at the moment, although I will test it in a little bit. And yeah, native 1080p res at the lowest settings on this GPU that has been able to play pretty much everything at 50 plus FPS at least, while looking much better than this, right, is only getting around 45 frames per second here. This is one of the most intensive areas though, so at least there's that. In some other planets, you will be able to get 60 plus FPS, but still, I mean, does this look better than the games that we've been playing so far? Definitely not. Yet it performs like complete crap. Look at this. Down into the 30s at times. Anyway, what can you do to make it more playable? Well, I guess you can use FSR3 and frame generation. I'm going to use that on top of native resolution. So it's 100% resolution scale still. And this way, it should be doubling our FPS or so. Yeah, it's getting like 60 frames right now, with a lot of input lag caused by frame generation, because you're basically getting the input lag of half of the frame rate that we're seeing here. But I mean, if you want that smoother experience, maybe play with a controller, you know, you can actually achieve those 60 FPS at the very least. The smoothness of 60 FPS with the input lag of 30 FPS. Doesn't feel terrible, honestly, but whenever you try to shoot people, yeah, making micro adjustments on your aim is going to be quite hard with this kind of input lag. It's definitely rough. At least it doesn't stutter though. Next is Call of Duty Warzone 3, and we're playing it at 1080p using the minimum settings preset with Fidelity FX CAS set to 50% to sharpen up the image, normal textures, and everything else is on minimum for that competitive experience, you know, high refresh rate. Possibly. All right, we're dropping, getting around 100 FPS. Ooh, now it's dropped. Oh my god. God damn it. So I guess I removed the auto parachute thingy, or maybe they did. I don't know. Let's start counting our FPS. Water is usually very intensive in this game, actually. So let's start with a water test. Near it, you got like 80 FPS, and shooting at it, we got drops into the 70s, not bad. So it's not really a high refresh rate experience as I was expecting it to be. I thought we'd get like 100 FPS, maybe 110 FPS on average. It's getting 90s, not amazing, but it's not a bad experience either. My god, people move so weirdly in this game. Well, I guess I'm gonna start counting our FPS again and open the parachute. Thank you very much. No, no, Already? Are you serious? Stop it, people. I can't move like you can. Okay, so around these areas with some buildings and stuff and a lot of camping bastards, right? You will get around like 90 FPS most of the time. Some drops into the 80s. It feels smooth. On a high refresh rate monitor, it still feels great like this, you know? It's obviously not going to be as good as a proper high refresh rate experience, like with 120 plus FPS all of the time, but I'm not really feeling at a big disadvantage because of the FPS. It's just because of me sucking at the game. Alright, well, I guess that's it for GTX 1080 here in this game. Can we get one? I hate it, guys. I hate this game, honestly. It's a bit of a shame that we used to get these FPS, even higher FPS in Warzone 1 with an RX 570, which is about half as fast as this. But hey, it is what it is. With all of the updates, it got intensive, and this is how it runs. At least it's still playable on this. Oh, I think I found the perfect settings for Gray Zone Warfare, guys. We're getting 69 FPS there. Unfortunately, the perfect settings are 1080p resolution using lowest settings, auto texture resolution for some reason, and FSR 3 on quality. And we will probably need frame generation as well to achieve decent smoothness in this one. And well, this is it. It doesn't look great here with FSR quality. It's really pixelated when you start moving around, but it gets 40-ish FPS. It's not awful, I guess, considering, right? It is an early access title. I don't usually like to include early access games in these Sunday videos. But as I said, I wanted to include a UE5 game that's very, very demanding. And this one meets the criteria, okay? So we're basically rendering the game at 720p resolution and upscaling to 1080p because of FSR quality, and it's only capable of achieving 40-ish FPS. Does it look better than many of the games that we tested here today that ran way faster than this? I mean, it's more impressive in terms of the scale. You know, it's a huge map, this one, and it has a lot of vegetation, which is usually intensive. But I mean, what's killing the performance the most are the UE5 technologies, Nanite and Lumen, that I disabled in Fortnite, otherwise it would run like crap as well. And in these games, the developers just don't disable those features for some reason, even at the lowest settings. I wish they did. I wish they allow us to remove Nanite from the game, set like a very low settings for that or something, because it will make a huge difference. Now let's try it with some frame generation on top of this, and now we're getting 80s. With a lot of input lag, holy crap. Yeah, this is way too input laggy. I got used to it when I was testing this game more often, you know, and it does feel decent. It removes those little spikes from the graph, you know. Developers in these UE5 titles are definitely relying on upscaling way too much. Now we have PUBG, another super popular game, still at 1080p using ultra settings and 100% resolution scale. This is a UE4 title, and it stutters quite a bit because of it, at least the first time around, loading the shaders or compiling them on the go. They should just compile the shaders beforehand, like Warzone does. Even Warzone stutters sometimes, even with the compilation of shaders, you know. But yeah, a lot of more developers should do that for sure. Damn it. Still, guys, the GTX 1080 is definitely all you need if you're playing PUBG at 1080p resolution. Even at higher resolutions, you know, this is an older title from 2017. So, of course, it runs very well on a GTX 1080, which was a top-of-the-line GPU back then. Although this is definitely yet another game where I completely suck. Oh, come on, come on. All right, got another one at least. Good stuff. Oh, boy. Next is the finals, probably the most well-optimized UE5 title. At 1080p resolution, XeSS is set to ultra quality because it actually looks better than native in this one, and we're using high settings. And look at that, guys, it is getting good FPS here. 80s, 90s, outside with a lot of vegetation we get down into the 60s, but it is super playable like this. Although, even though the image is sharper on ultra quality XeSS compared to native resolution, there is quite a bit of ghosting, guys. I don't really like that, so we might actually turn that off in just a little bit, okay? Let's go up here. Oh boy, explode the things. There we go. Explode more things. Yes, sir. This is UE5's optimization at its peak, basically. It doesn't drop from 60 FPS on an 8-year-old GPU while looking pretty great at the same time. It's high settings. Again, it just doesn't really have that nanite and very intensive lumen stuff enabled. This is how it should be. The developers should precompile the shaders like they do in this one, first of all. There we go. Nice kill there. And they should also stop utilizing those nanite and lumen options, or at least baking them into the game without the option of disabling them. That's very important. Alright, the only minor gripe that I have here is that XeSS being a little bit ghostly. So I'm using TAAU now. Starting to drop a little bit there. As you can see, close to the 60, so we lose a little bit of performance. It looks a little bit softer at the same time, but we don't have the ghosting, so I'm not sure what I would choose, honestly, guys. TAAU isn't the best anti-aliasing, but it doesn't look absolutely terrible on high settings, at the very least, with high anti-aliasing as well. You know what? In this game, the performance isn't too far off of an RTX 3060, for example. And in other maps, you will also get, like, up to 20 more FPS or something crazy like that. This map, it really is way more intensive than the other ones. All right, let's go. Good job, buddy. Good job. 0 stutters as well. It's just a great experience, no matter what settings you utilize, as long as you don't go epic settings, of course. And it is conclusion time. I'll still have a few more games running right here as usual. And is the GTX 1080 still worth it, even 8 years later? I guess it is, my friends. Obviously, it all depends on the price. If you can get it for a good deal, I would say like $100 or something like that, maybe even lower than that. That's a pretty nice deal for a GTX 1080. You got 8 gigabytes of VRAM, which are still enough for the performance it gets. You know, you will be able to utilize medium to high textures in most games at 1080p. It still supports the latest drivers even 8 years later, which is kind of insane, you know. We haven't really seen GPU generations in the past lasting like 10 years plus, like the 900 series is doing at the moment, and like the 10 series will likely do. Another thing is, it doesn't consume all that much power, you know. It consumes around the same as an RTX 4070, actually slightly lower than that. Obviously, performance-wise, it's way worse than a 4070, so it's not as efficient as the latest GPUs that we have in the market today, but that's completely normal. It's an 8-year-old GPU, and for an 8-year-old GPU, it doesn't really consume all that much, you know, like for an 80 series product, especially 180 watts and lower in some of the titles is pretty impressive. Now, do make sure that you get one in a very good condition, you know, check out if there's any corrosion and stuff like that, because these could have been mined on, so yeah, they could be on their last legs. But I think if you can get one in good condition for $100 or lower, it is still a decent deal. And you know what? If you're only playing older titles at 1080p, especially like from 2020 and older, this can still do like 1080p high settings, 60 plus all of the time, which is crazy as well. Like, it's a really nice card indeed. Let me know your thoughts on the GTX 1080. Did it surpass your expectations? I was honestly expecting a little bit less performance, especially after seeing the GTX 1080 Ti, but no, this is still capable, as you could see, of course. I'll catch you in the next one. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.